You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you here for the next 2 hours on a Thursday. What's up, Matthew? How we doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Can't complain. Getting close to the weekend. Big weekend. Big Thursday night game today. It's
beautiful day out there.
I was just about to say it's been a beautiful week of weather here. The kind of exact fall weather that you would hope for. Sunny, but not too hot. It's been beautiful. So, life is good. Cannot complain, man. And we've got a fun show planned today. We'll have Bob Labriola coming up about 20 minutes from now.
Nice.
Of course, we will talk a little bit about that big Thursday night football game tonight at Lambeau Field between the Commanders and the Packers, and two good teams, two good quarterbacks. It'll be a fun Thursday night one this evening. But as we will do all season on Thursdays, Matt, what do you say we dive into a little Matt's stats here to get us going?
Okay.
I know that there is a lot that we're going to be looking for improvement upon from week 1 to week 2.
Oh, quite a bit.
Real quick, before we get into this, as someone who, you worked for Pitt, you worked for Akron, you worked for the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you weren't a coach, you were in the scouting department,
right.
but you're all, part of that same sphere, that same ecosystem together. I think a lot of times you hear the old cliche, the old adage, you improve the most as a team from week 1 to week 2. Do you really put stock into that? How true is that? All cliches have some truth to them, obviously.
Yeah.
But how real is that in the modern age, the modern game?
Well, the thing is, and people don't think about this as much, I mean, and it's very true in Pittsburgh, you only think about the Steelers. Well, if it is true, your opponent did too. So if you're playing 50% of your opponent in week 1 and both of you go to 85 in week 2, I know they're different teams, well, the level of play just went up. It doesn't mean all of a sudden you got this great advantage over everybody else. But I do think there's two aspects worth really digging into from week 1 to week 2. And some of this carries over into later weeks as well. It's not just like, boom, it's done. The stamina thing is massive to me. I mean, playing that many snaps, often in the hottest weather you're going to, but even then, it's just the snap count. I mean,
football shape.
Cam Hayward's the best example. I mean, I know he's a freak and he's Wolverine and he can do whatever, but what has he done that was even comparable to what he did against the Jets? And he's not alone by any means. I'm just picking him out because he probably did the least, not because of the contract stuff, because he's older. I mean, of any Steeler since the day they were eliminated. And I'm not talking about the weights and work ethic and any of that. I'm just talking about
real
football snaps. Nobody did 60 in a row. Before Sunday. I mean, the O-linemen don't get to shift out. The quarterbacks don't get to shift out. So there has to be a stamina thing. Your technique fails. Your brain starts to not work as sharp because your body's failing. And you just haven't done it. I mean, 12 snaps or 8 snaps against Carolina's fourth stringers is not the same for Jalen Ramsey and Slay and those guys as let's tackle Justin Fields 1,000 times. So I think that's 1,000% real. And even this week, people will still feel fatigue more than they do in week 8, of course, or blah, 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 blah. Now, I also think, and this was true for the Steelers much more so than the Jets, you don't have any tape on these coaches. Okay, they're all coming from Detroit. They'll probably do Detroit things. That's a start. Or you watched all the players. You have a scouting report on Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. But you don't know how they're going to be deployed.
Sure.
You have a hunch. Maybe if I were them, the way that they matching what I know about Sauce versus what I know about the Lions, he'll probably follow your number 1 receiver. But what if he doesn't? You know what I mean? You don't know that for a fact by any means. So you're just kind of hypothesizing, and preseason's not going to give you that answer either. So I think that's a big thing, is at least you get the Bills play the Jets this week. They at least have one game of Jets tape to go off of, which is way more valuable than all the other stuff. And on all the Steelers had was all the other stuff. Now, they're not alone for having to prepare for a team that has all new people. There's tons of turnover in this league.
Totally.
It's not an excuse, but I think it's a lot harder that I don't exactly know how they're going to play, but I'm going to guess in a pretty strong manner, you know?
And I think that's something you hear every head coach, certainly Mike Tomlin, all other 31 head coaches across the league, going into week one, they all say it's more about what we do. Like this
yeah.
There is obviously
run our stuff.
That you have familiarity with some of the personnel, you have familiarity with some of the coaching staff, but you don't have any data points from this season. All of that is in the past, and obviously things change, they evolve, coaches change and evolve, players change and evolve, the roster turnover, the staff turnover from week one to week two. You hear every coach talk about that. Week one, it's about us. Like, it's about, I'm not looking at my neighbor's yard. You know what I mean? I'm looking at my own landscaping and what I need to do with the mulch and the bushes and cutting the grass.
Things
and all.
I can control.
I'm looking at my own house here. When does that really start to flip, that you start to feel like we have enough to really specifically game plan this opponent with tendencies and knowing what they're going to do?
I would say if you had a coach here, they would say 4 games, I start to feel comfortable.
October.
Yeah. I mean, so a lot of people do say September is an extension of the preseason. And I think for those reasons, yes, but the games count the same. You know, like, I hate that point, like, oh, well, you know, get hot down the stretch or all that. I mean, yeah, like I guess you'd rather play better, but a win's a win.
Right. Like, we all didn't just belittle the Bengals for how slow they've started for the last handful of years.
It's just a math equation at the end of the year. Who has the most wins and most tiebreakers goes to the playoffs. It doesn't matter that. Well, that doesn't mean as much in week one.
Well, tiebreakers don't count from September.
Right.
Yes, they do.
Like it bothered me, it's kind of a side note, that Brazil game was a home game for the Chargers. And why I single that one out and not the upcoming Ireland game for the Steelers is it was a division game. So you play a division game, you only get 3 of those home games as opposed to 8 or 9 other home games. I understand that every team has to give up a home game. Some team has to give up a home game when you play overseas.
Sure.
That's part of the deal now. But it shouldn't be a division game. Because they do count more. And for the Chargers, they won. Good for them.
So all is well that ends well. But
for them, yeah, right. But now they got to go to Kansas City, you know, in the rematch. Kansas City never went to L.A., you know what I mean?
Yes, and the atmosphere will be much different at Arrowhead Stadium than it was on Friday night in Sao Paulo, certainly.
So a couple other notes is now it's certainly true that most teams are going to be healthier in week 1 than they are in week 2, let alone week 7, week 8, week 10. You know, so every team is digging down their depth chart more and more. I mean, you're going to lose people for the year. Unfortunately, it's a brutal sport. The chances are you're less healthy going forward. I mean, you're probably not more healthy. You know what I mean? So I think that's noteworthy. Now, also, I'm just throwing the Jets out there because they're recent. Did they show everything? You know, like, are the Bills going to play it like, okay, I know a lot of what they do. They did a really good job of massaging Fields, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Setting him up for success.
Totally.
Are they going to do the exact same thing against us, or do they still have like 8 more tricks in the bag? You know, who knows?
You would think that all these teams have more tricks in the bag, more that they didn't get to. You and I both know it's.
And real quick, the Jets found out more about themselves in that game too than anybody else. You know what I mean?
New coach, new quarterback.
I thought he could handle that, but he really couldn't. Or man,
going out about
Membo, I can leave alone against really good pass rushers. You know, I wasn't sure if I could do that or not.
Rookie tackle.
Yeah.
There was a lot that the Jets certainly learned about themselves on Sunday with all that turnover and all that youth that they have injected into the organization and the roster.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. That's just something that I kind of always, what exactly, like, there's no perfect process in all of that.
Isn't.
There's no exact blueprint in all of that.
And if every team does get better from week 1 to 2, do you get 10% better? Do you get 3% better? Do you get 50% better? You know, like maybe Seattle got 50% better and the Steelers got 3% better from 1 to 2. We'll see. You know what I mean?
That, if you're a team like the Niners who had a ton of injuries week 1, I don't know how you can argue, we're going to get better week 2.
We lost George Kittle. Yeah.
We lost Kittle and Brock Purdy for a length of period here. So, there's nuance in that. But it is also, again, obviously something that coaches highlight, people discuss. There has to be some truth in that. We start to get a baseline of learning about ourselves. We at least have some data points now of our opponent. And now we head into week 2. And with that, Matt.
One more note.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers are better equipped to handle the rigors, all those things we just mentioned of week 1, better than most teams because of experience. I mean, Tomlin does this every year where, okay, I know week 1's different than week 10, where the Jet staff, or, I think I know it's different, but I haven't been down that road. Seattle a year ago was a rookie staff. It's not Vrabel or Carroll that's done this a lot of years, assisted a new home. I understand week one as a head coach. I understand that we're game planning for stuff that doesn't exist, and I'm going to have to adjust on the fly more than most weeks, mostly.
Yes.
And then the other thing is Rodgers, because if you rewatch, I urge people, even on the TV copy, just rewatch Steelers Jets, especially on second and third downs. He checked out of a ton of Arthur Smith plays, and that doesn't mean, Arthur, I don't think you know what you're doing. It's, I come to the line of scrimmage and they're going to show me this. I'm not going to hesitate to go to the best play.
If you're giving me red paint, I'm going to paint the barn red.
Right.
And if you're giving me green paint, I'm going to paint the barn green.
Right. I think it's a big reason Rodgers is here, is to check into the right plays.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that,
where Cam Ward isn't. He's going to come on the line and snap the ball. And this was a play call. I'm going to run it right into it.
Russell Wilson wasn't.
He didn't do a great job.
That's a guy with Hall of Fame type credentials. Right. And, that for Aaron Rodgers, that's one of the things that he's done best. We obviously all know the highlight tape from his career, the arm strength, the arm accuracy, for a long time of his career, the mobility and the athleticism that he had.
Overall playmaking,
all those things, rightfully so, a big part of the reason why he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame when he retires, but also because of what he can do above the shoulders, what he can do from the neck up. Peyton Manning got a ton of credit for that, rightfully so.
Oh, he's right.
I don't know if Aaron Rodgers gets the credit that he deserves in that regard, but it was a good start, certainly for at least Steelers fans seeing that this past Sunday.
Now, I don't know if Rodgers' career is better than Peyton's. Whatever, we could fight about that, and it doesn't really even matter, to be honest with you. But
they're both all-time
general
greats.
Opinion of them in their prime was Manning's unbelievable from the neck up. They both are, but Rodgers' highlight tape was more, wow, Mahomes before Mahomes, that people said they would cite that first. And as opposed to, man, he's a computer above the neck, and he's a computer above the neck. He knows football as well as, I forget who I was even listening to, but somebody I really respected saying, I would rather have Aaron Rodgers call a game than 15 of the offensive coordinators out there. You know what I mean?
It's not a bad point.
Right. And that's not a knock on the 15 coordinators.
No.
I mean, one might be Arthur Smith. I mean, like, he's really, really good at it.
He's spent 2 decades under center and has about as much experience in that regard as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, too, there were a lot of people in Indianapolis, a lot of people in Denver saying that same thing about Peyton Manning.
Right,
This guy's sitting in film rooms with him. Like, this guy's smarter than most.
He's better than smarter than all of us in the building, right?
Most of the offensive minds across the league and in this building. And that's a good resource to have, man.
It's unbelievable, right? But I also want people to realize, at least through one game, Rodgers has shown to be very adaptable. Like, he's taken more shotgun snaps. The play action stuff was the highest in like 8 years of his career. I mean, the usage of play action. Okay, I realize I'm willing to change. Did a lot of bootlegging and rolling out, despite his age. I mean, that's an Arthur Smith thing too. So at least through one game, I feel like Smith and Rodgers really had a good thing going.
And I think if that's the starting point and they're only going to improve, they're only going to gel and mesh more from here, that's something to be excited about.
Yeah.
Matt,
But I think that's a huge week one advantage where, like I mentioned, Cam Ward, it's not his fault. He's first overall pick. Sure. He's never played before. He's got to go to Mile High against an awful defense to play against. You can't expect much, Or Caleb Williams on that night against, a madman in Flores,
Plenty more to get to dive into in that regard. Plenty more specific of Matt's stats and numbers here that we have to discuss with the Steelers offense and the Steelers defense. But we will do that at the bottom of the hour, because coming up next, we've got Steelers historian Bob Labriola. Going to ask him his thoughts from that win at MetLife, looking ahead to the home opener against Seattle, all of that with Labs when we return on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on The Drive on a Thursday here as we go to the phone lines. And Matt, we're excited at this time throughout the season to welcome Steelers historian all-around great guy, Mr. Bob Labriola. Of course, all the listeners here on the Steelers Audio Network know Labs. Labs, thank you for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it. I know plenty that we want to jump into here with you. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers. I think we all knew.
Seems like a good place to start.
I think let's not bury the lead on this one. I think we all knew. Listen, the accolades, the credentials, the resume speaks for itself. This is one of the greatest to ever do it. I think we all knew he would have a big impact on this offense. I think we all knew he'd have some of those games where it looks like he's turning back the clock. I don't know if we all expected it to happen week 1, though. That was impressive for a first of 17 games, hopefully, for Aaron Rodgers in the black and gold.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he was everything I believe was reasonable to hope for in his first game with the Steelers, really, because he didn't play at all in the preseason. His first real action of really any kind outside of maybe the joint practice with Tampa Bay on the Thursday before that preseason game. And, there's just so many different ways, I think, that you can look at that, his performance, and marvel at it. I mean, we can look at the numbers, 73% completions, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's the 28th time that Rodgers in the NFL has had a game with, 4 or more touchdowns and no interceptions. But then there were just so many other, big-time NFL quarterback things that the guy did for the Steelers. Perfect in the red zone, which means not having to settle for any field goals. I really like the fact that the Jets took the opening kickoff, drove down, kicked the field goal. Rodgers brought the offense right back, scored a touchdown, which, regular followers of the Pittsburgh Steelers know is not something that has happened a lot lately. They scored a touchdown at the end of the first half. Then they came back in the second half, scored a touchdown then, scored a touchdown they scored at the end of the game in the last 2-minute drill. There were just a lot of things I thought that a lot to like about the way Aaron Rodgers played, and to me it was a no-brainer to pick him as the player of the week. I don't have anything that I could criticize about the way he played on the field, the way he handled the quarterback, quote-unquote, duties for that team, for that offense. I think he gave, the Steelers a little bit of, a badass on offense for the first time in a while. And, as I said, I could not find a thing for me personally to criticize about his first game.
Yeah, Labs, I couldn't agree more. And you touched on this, but even if he just wins from the neck up, and we talked about that in the first segment a lot, if he just comes to the line of scrimmage, consistently gets them in the right play, in and out of the huddle, and frankly, really cuts down on the negative plays that the offense has overall. You mentioned no interceptions, efficient in the red zone. That in itself could pay off huge.
Yeah, and, one of the things I think was a little bit under the radar in terms of that last possession, that ended with Boswell's 60-yard field goal. I think as you got to the 2-minute warning, the strategy, in my mind anyway, you wanted to naturally score to win the game, but you also wanted to run the clock and leave as little time left for the Jets as possible. And so, that the pass to Jonnu Smith, didn't gain any yards on second down, but it was completed. The clock ran. And then on third down, I really liked him taking a shot down the field because I kind of thought watching the game, it's going to be another possession kind of play, just keep the clock running, that kind of thing. And Rodgers goes deep. And I don't know that the Jets were ready for that. Certainly the officials weren't because they missed the pass interference call on Calvin Austin, which it was a pass interference call. It was pass interference. And, that kind of above-the-neck thing, having the guts attack down the field when maybe the other team's thinking that you're not going to do that, and putting the ball where it needed to be, and they should have gotten the pass interference, and then I think the whole end of the game is a lot more comfortable. So, those are also the kinds of things. I think, Matt, that's another example.
Yeah.
You mentioned above the neck. In my view of the game, that was an above-the-neck play by the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. No, certainly was, and sticking with that, Labs, I thought one of the more encouraging developments Sunday at MetLife Stadium was the performance that we saw from Calvin Austin III as well, too, after not seeing much of him at training camp or throughout the preseason, obviously. 4 receptions, 70 yards, the touchdown. I tell you what, he performs like that, and I don't think we're going to be talking about the number 2 wide receiver conversation much anymore.
Well, and no disrespect to Calvin Austin, because you're absolutely right. He was very productive, and I think that the guy is so far having a nice start to his season. But I think that's an Aaron Rodgers thing too. I don't know that the concept of a number 2 wide receiver. I don't know that that's I won't say as necessary, but maybe is the word that I want. When you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers who can get the ball to the open people, he can take advantage of areas of the field and players that other quarterbacks cannot or will not. And so, the whole concept of the Steelers need a second wide receiver, a number 2 wide receiver, my contention would be they just need to keep Aaron Rodgers healthy. And I think a lot of that other stuff will take care of itself.
So, Labs, we've talked a lot about Rodgers. He's their highest profile addition of the offseason. Obviously, he's an all-time great. But DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey aren't too far behind in terms of, brand-name dudes coming to Pittsburgh. What did you think of them in your first live action?
Well, I mean, they were both very good as well. I mean, Ramsey, his attitude, his demeanor, I guess, is a
physicality.
That's a scout's term, isn't it?
Yeah.
Demeanor.
Yeah.
I really like what he brought to the defense. He's a no-nonsense guy. He is not afraid to let the opponents know, what he plans on doing, and then going and doing it. He was physical. He was aggressive. That play he made at the end was, another, I talked about big-time quarterback play. That was big-time defensive back play right there. It was perfect. I mean, you could take that hit and put it on video and use it as a teaching tool. Keep your head out of it. He didn't rough him. The timing thing, everything, it was perfect. And that's really kind of the thing about defensive play in a lot of instances. You only have to make one to get off the field. And if it's on 4th down and whatever, and the other team goes for it, and you make the play, well, then that play that you made right there is far more significant than maybe the 6 or 7 plays that preceded it to get the offense in that position in the first place. That's good enough defense. Mm-hmm. And so, I thought, Ramsey was everything you wanted and needed. DK Metcalf, he's a pro. He cares. He is, a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. A lot of people like to talk about George Pickens as a number 1 wide receiver. That's a whole different league. DK Metcalf, in terms of that kind of designation, how he approaches his business, how he prepares, how he's accountable to his quarterback and his teammates. And, again, I keep going back to this. This is another Aaron Rodgers above the neck. Whenever Sauce Gardner was not on DK Metcalf, Rodgers went right to him.
Mm-hmm. Like every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
And that's again, just as I said, Calvin Austin becomes a number 2 wide receiver because of the way, Aaron Rodgers utilizes him. That's the same thing with a defensive strategy can be sabotaged by an above-the-neck quarterback who sees it, who realizes it, and knows exactly what he needs to do to take advantage of it. Again, I mean, that was I'm not going to say championship caliber offense because it's way too early to start throwing around phrases like that. But you know, I haven't seen the Steelers offense play that well in all of the various, you know, facets of offense than I did against the Jets.
Labs, I think we will all agree that if they do want to, you know, fully become a championship offense, the rushing attack, the run game is obviously going to have to improve. Starts with the offensive line, starts with the running backs, you know, 20 carries for just 53 yards this past Sunday. How do they get that moving in the right direction at the home opener against another stingy defense in Seattle?
Well, I mean, you know, the running game is always the I won't say the last thing, but it's not the first thing to come together, you know, for an offense. You know, especially, you know, the Steelers will have a physical training camp for sure. They have tackle football in just about every padded practice, and so there's a lot of those kinds of things that they work on. However, I don't know if they had their starting five offensive line, did they take any snaps together?
In the preseason?
I don't think, because
Seamalu
didn't play,
no
right?
Seamalu, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, again, yes, you're right about that. Yes, you need the running game to be better, and the offensive line needs to be better. And, you know, I've been banging this drum for years now. Get the running back to the line of scrimmage clean. Let's see what he can do after that. You know, it makes me crazy when a running back has to break 2 or 3 tackles to get back to the line of scrimmage, you know, to get a 1-yard gain. That's not good enough. But again, I don't think it's time to say that they can't or they won't. You know, let's see how it works out here. And I'll tell you this too: a couple more games like this from Rodgers, and the opposing defense, they're going to come into games against the Steelers with a whole different perspective. I mean, I don't know that you're going to be seeing a lot of loaded boxes if he's thrown 4 touchdown passes and no interceptions, completing 73%. You just can't do that. You'll die the death the other way. Mm-hmm. So you know, again, I'm just it was one game, and while I acknowledge that it wasn't good enough in that one game, I don't know that it's not going to be, or that it can't become good enough.
I like that you pointed out that you could do whatever you want in the preseason and in practice and in OTAs or whatever, but it's not the same as playing 60, 70 snaps together of NFL Week 1 football. And across the league, physicality things, run the ball, you know, tackling, stuff in the run is not going to be up to par. You know, we had a good segment in just a minute ago talking about how Week 1 presents different challenges. That being said,
and, you know,
yeah, good.
And there's no such thing, you know, as a finished product now.
Right.
You know, let's not forget the Super Bowl favorite, one of the Super Bowl favorites from the AFC, blew their 17th double-digit lead under John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
John Harbaugh.
They're getting good
last
at that.
Week. Yeah, I mean, so you know, Steelers fans sometimes they boggle my mind. I mean, I'm getting letters and stuff from people saying, you know, the Ravens can't be stopped. Well, they can stop themselves.
Oh, Ravens fans, Labs, I've been saying this for a while. The Ravens situation's almost just like the Steelers with like one more playoff win per year. You know what I mean? Like they're hitting their head on the ceiling too. The Steelers haven't been able to win a playoff game. The Ravens over this Lamar era are a notch ahead of that. You know, they win more regular season games and win a playoff game. But Ravens fans are fed up too. You know, like this isn't unique.
Right. You know, so it just, again, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of enjoyment in terms of watching the games. seeing how things develop. It just seems to be such a quick desire to cut people, fire people, move on from, flip the tackles, move the tight end to tackle, whatever. Bench Keanu Benton, play Y.A. Black all the time, whatever. Just pick the more ridiculous thing. Another one was, you're not moving T.J. Watt around like they said they were gonna. Well, last week Herbig was out. Jack Sawyer's a rookie.
Yeah.
So Highsmith's coming off that groin injury that was bothering him for a good bit of the preseason, and so what? You want to move Watt all around it, in the first game of the regular season, and if you don't, that means that you've given up on that whole concept.
Yeah. The book's not written.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not even researched yet.
No. Right. But where I was going, though, with the physicality and not practicing, that's a wonderful – it's not even an excuse. It's just truth. But the Steelers' run defense has to get better.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, guys, I thought – and, again, I'm watching it on TV. It seemed to me like guys were getting handled at the line of scrimmage.
I thought so, too.
No, and I don't know if they're in the right gap but getting handled physically or, however that works. And then I also have a feeling that once that starts happening, then guys start trying to do more than they should or than their assignment would dictate in order to make a play to help stop the bleeding, and then that just makes it worse. Then you lose your I won't say discipline so much, but the integrity of the scheme. You have guys jumping gaps or those kinds of things trying to make a play, and it's just then it just snowballs the wrong way. So again, it was bad. It needs to be better, but
feels better with a win.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Get things fixed while you're winning.
Yes, and again, Derek Harmon wasn't there. Cam Hayward is going to be easing into this, regardless of the contract situation or any of that. He wasn't going to have played very much. He wasn't going to have played in the preseason anyway. No. I thought Mike Tomlin was extremely honest and accurate when he said, "My job is to get Cam out of Latrobe." Right?
Yes.
Because any news, anything, I remember Dan Rooney always used to say this, anytime you're mentioning your best players in training camp or the preseason, it's something bad. Somebody got hurt.
That's pretty wise.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's great
Somebody
wisdom.
got hurt. I was at that game that I think was a Sunday afternoon preseason game, and it was against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And young David DeCastro, I don't know if he missed a block or whatever. He hit Pouncey in the knee, done for the season. Jordy Nelson, Packers receiver, Aaron Rodgers' favorite receiver maybe, injured a knee or an Achilles or something bad, lost for the season. So, here we are. We're talking about Marquise Pouncey, your number one pick at guard, and the Packers' best receiver in the preseason. And it's all bad.
It's all bad, yeah.
It's all bad.
Yeah. And they got Cam out of Latrobe.
Yes, they got Cam out of Latrobe. So, it's time for, again, start working on it, working towards playing better. I think that the inside linebackers, I think they're better than what they showed.
I think so too.
The run, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think Patrick Queen's assessment, not only was it right on, I can't say the words that he used. I think we've all seen them. But I like the fact that he said it. A guy like that, I like the fact that he said what he said, because he is a defensive leader. There's no question about it. And when your top guys are challenging their own teammates, I think that's a good thing.
They're not short on guys speaking up.
No, and
I think everybody they brought in speaks up.
And the people who are doing it are the right people.
Right.
In my opinion. You have, the people who are talking, they're the ones that I think you want to be talking.
I would agree. Bob Labriola is one of those people that we want to be talking. Kind enough to join us here on this Thursday, as he'll do throughout the season. Steelers historian Bob Labriola. Labs, thanks for the time. And we'll be listening for you on the pregame show, of course, 11 o'clock on the Steelers Audio Network on WDVE with Mike Pursuta and Jerry Dulac. Labs, we will see you on Sunday.
Yeah, and Wes, just a little personal note from me to you. Good luck on Saturday, because
I'm going to need it.
That's going to be, well, I don't know whether you're going to need it or not, but I think there's a lot of quote-unquote friends of yours that are going to be laying in the weeds for you if things don't go your way. Just warning you. You
and Mark Cabali and Brian Bacco will be waiting in the press box like WWE wrestlers about to jump somebody backstage. I know it. I'm not looking forward to it.
As I've told you many times, Wes, I will take advantage of whichever side loses.
That's a good place. That's a good place to be.
Torture their people. Yes, that's the best part about not really caring.
That's a good part about playing both sides, is I always come out on top. Labs, thanks for the time, partner, and I'll see you with a frown on my face Sunday.
All right, take care, guys.
Steelers historian Bob Labriola, kind enough to give us his time here on a Thursday. It's a little bit more cheerful Labs here on this Thursday, I tell you.
Well, it's coming off a win. We didn't play any of his doom and gloom music that we did last year. I kind of kept that quiet on purpose because we used to play like the Emperor's theme song or Vader or Jaws or Dean of Doom. But hey, he's cheery.
He is. His Steelers are 1-0, and he downplays it. But his Pitt Panthers, I think, are about to beat the snot out of my Mountaineers on Saturday. And yeah, him and Cabali and Bacco and everybody else, they'll be having some fun.
Are they all Pitt guys?
Yeah. Again, well, Cabali and Labs like to say that they're not Pitt guys. They just like to give me grief.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
Notre Dame fans don't give me grief.
True.
Virginia Tech fans don't give me grief.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
I'm on to those two. We're going to take a break here, Matt. On the other side, some tweets, some injury report stuff to get into. I wanted to make sure to mention that. Matt and I are going to try and do this kind of Twitter Thursday type thing, if you will. So throughout the show, we will get to your tweets at some point, probably in hour number 2. If you want to get involved, you can find Matt at Williamson NFL. I'm at Wesley Uhler. We will get to those as we roll along. Plenty to get to. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on The Drive here, closing down hour number 1 of the show. We got a couple tweets rolling in. Reminder.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, get those in. We will get to those in hour number 2 at Williamson NFL, at Wesley Uhler. Questions, comments, concerns, reactions, anything and everything in between. You know where to get at us if you want to get involved. Matt, one of the things Labs mentioned there that I kind of wanted to follow up on and use one of your statistics as well, too, to kind of bring this all full circle.
Look what you're doing there. Nice.
We'll jump into this stats packet more in hour number 2. Absolutely. Labs was talking about the struggles of the run game, how it needs to be better, but not panicking yet, obviously, and a lot of the accurate reasons why that's the case. One of the things he mentioned was, I'd like to see these running backs get going and have some space before they got contacted.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Last week against the Jets, Pittsburgh's ball carriers averaged a negative 0.3 yards before their first contact.
Pretty brutal.
Compared to, especially when you consider it, when you juxtapose it with what the Jets did in that department.
Talk about difference in holes.
1.6 for New York. So that difference is nearly
like a full step.
Nearly a 2-yard difference.
Right.
Between when the Steelers running backs are first facing contact and when the Jets running backs are first getting touched.
I know. There's things about Najee Harris's game I liked and I didn't like, but I always envision him when I see these stats, like just in a barroom fight to get to the line of scrimmage. He'd use his arms a lot. He'd do a lot of upper body stuff, fighting off 320-pound defensive tackles just to get to the line of scrimmage. And that's not going to cut it,
No.
And especially like from that Jets perspective, Breece Hall, Fields, they're such distance, long speed accelerators. You give them a runway, you get chunk gains every time.
You give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Exactly. So I'm not saying the Steelers don't have explosive backs, but they don't run like those Steeler backs aren't going to win races against Hall and Fields. You know what I mean? And you got to do a better job opening holes. They weren't there.
No, they weren't. The pass protection was not up to snuff.
No.
The run game, moving bodies at the line of scrimmage was not up to snuff. And I think when you see that, I mean, again, a 1.9 yard aggregate difference from when the Steelers running backs were facing first contact to when the Jets were. That's not great. That's
huge.
Not where you want to be.
Right.
And that's one of the things.
That's probably shocked no one listening that those numbers backed up exactly what you saw.
I don't think that will come as a huge surprise to everybody. The Jets had 6 explosive runs. That's 10 or more yards in the run game. 0 for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Jaylen Warren did have a 9-yard carry, so right on the edge of having one there. But that's part of that as well, too. Like you mentioned with Justin Fields and Breece Hall, like when those guys can get going, when they can build up momentum, when they can make one move and all of a sudden,
a little bit of green grass,
some green grass, like that makes all the difference in the world. And that's going to be another tall task against this talented Seattle front.
Yeah. Now, kind of the good news is Seattle's offense has had the same problem. You know, I think Charbonnet and Walker basically split carries last year, and they're both good players. I don't blame either one of them for this. Their longest run, I think, was 8 yards between the two of them. I mean, so they
got outrushed pretty significantly by San Francisco as well, too.
Yeah. I mean, time possession, 22 minutes for Seattle. So Seattle's having more struggles than the Jets did in week 1. But if we're sitting here Monday going, boy, Walker and Charbonnet, average first contacts, 2 yards downfield, might be an us problem, not a you problem. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
And so that is... And again, I think everybody understands this. Like, it's not like we're mashing a panic button or anything in this regard. But all throughout,
and I did love Labs' observation that the physical natures of the game aren't going to be as sharp in week 1. I kind of wish I would have brought that up in the first segment too.
They take a little bit longer to warm up to.
Yeah. Running game, run defense, tackling. Sure.
Another one of those old.
It's not an excuse though.
No, it's not. But another one of those old cliches for a reason is like fatigue makes cowards of us all. Right. When you're beat down, when you're worn out, you're not as sharp mentally. You're not as gung-ho to stick your face in the fan.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and really kind of assert your will and everything that you have to do to be successful in the run game and in the trenches at the line of scrimmage in the National Football League.
It's too often forgotten that these are human beings. They're not like,
robots.
Yeah,
they're not cyborgs.
Not dominoes or, checkers on the board,
I would really like to start, and I'm not saying that it doesn't have to be a Mona Lisa on Sunday against Seattle either. No. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece.
No.
But I want to see clear-cut improvement. And then I want to see it again in New England, and then I want to see it again in Ireland.
Yeah.
That kind of whole, like what you talked about at the start of the show, at the top of the hour, that whole, first 4 games or so September is about us and just getting better. And we're game planning for our opponent, absolutely, but it's more about our own landscaping than our neighbors' landscaping. That's again, it does not have to be by leaps and bounds, but I hope we see improvement in that regard on Sunday.
I assume you're talking about both run defense and run offense.
Yes.
Yeah. I think both are. I think we were focusing more on offense.
On offense, particularly the negative 0.3 yards before contact.
Great point, yeah.
And then I don't want to see a number for Seattle that looks like the 1.6 yards before contact like it was for the Jets.
Because at least we have the other data point of Seattle struggling in the same regard as the Steelers' offense. All of a sudden, if the Steeler D is just allowing big holes over and over and over, well, you got to really examine what you're doing here.
Yes.
And there's some reasoning behind it. I know we don't have a ton of time, but I mean, I think as Labs mentioned, I thought defensive linemen are getting moved way too much into the laps of those linebackers, not letting them do what they can do.
There was a lot of
ripple effect.
A lot of criticism of Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson's performance, and I'm not.
They weren't great.
I'm not here to say they were great, but they had a lot of bodies in their lap right after the
snap.
Benton
and Loudermilk are coming at you as well as blockers. There's not a lot of room to operate.
That's the linebacker equivalent of getting contacted behind the line of scrimmage like a running back.
That's a great parallel.
I'm going to be interested. That's one of those things now that I want to keep an eye on, this number, how the Steelers ball carriers the space that they have before they get contacted, and the opposition ball carrier, the space that they're allowing before contact. It's one of the things I love about the stats packet that you put together every single week is you kind of keep the same conversation points. What the time of possession looks like, what the average yards per play look like. And so,
this is maybe why.
And this is maybe why.
Right,
and so make no mistake about it, this is something we will keep track of as we roll along throughout this regular season.
And there's so many services now, and I don't calculate this stuff. I just find it.
You just go find it.
Right. 10 years ago, you couldn't find those things.
No, absolutely not. And now it's like there are a treasure trove of places to go and find good information.
Yeah. And it's from NFL.com. I mean, it's not some dude in his basement.
It's not
saying,
a blogger
this is what
where you're like,
right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I maybe trust this person's work, but what if they made a mistake? What if they didn't
I didn't make it up to prove a point. I'm taking it from the NFL next-gen people. Right.
And a lot of this stats and a lot of this information, you got to have expensive subscriptions to access.
Some, yeah.
as well, too.
Know someone that does.
Or share a login. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. 1 hour in the books, another hour to go. We will get to your tweets in hour number 2. We will get to the latest on the injury front for both of these teams in hour number 2. And, of course, continue to peruse through all of Matt's stats. All that and more when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. Back on The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. I'm going to continue to say good evening in hour number 2 because in the next few weeks, Matt, it's going to be dark by this 5 o'clock point anyways, and it really will feel
walking out of here at 6 when it's dark is a little miserable. Yeah.
I am liking now starting my days a little bit slower in this new time slot. In the past, like I would drop my kids off at daycare and I'd be rushing in here to get ready for our morning shows.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In the locker room and Steelers Blitz and all those things. Now I got some more time in the mornings, which isn't the worst thing ever, to kind of take my time and prep the show and get stuff done, whatever that I need to get done. But yeah, as soon as it's dark at 5 o'clock, that is going to be depressing driving home in the darkness every single night. But we still do have a few weeks till we get there.
My first hour or two is research time. I go to all my sites. I start. A lot of the stat packet ends up in. Type that guy in. Oh, I like that one. Add that one. Yeah.
See, I thought you did that like exclusively in the evenings.
Well, then it also happens after 10 p.m. too.
I can always tell.
Right.
I can always tell on
when
the
the
nights.
Tweets go out and stuff.
The tweets. That's how I used to tell was the tweets. But sometimes at like 12:30, like a little bit after midnight, I'll get a text from you about something.
Oh, you might get an email
and I'm
too,
like,
or
an email, or I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have a text from you that you sent at 12:30.
On my cranium,
Email you sent me at 1:15 a.m. and I'm like, Matt was in his bag last night. Matt was up late. He was rolling. He was doing his research.
After Thursday football, I'll probably do something. Right.
Yep. And that's
actually after Thursday football, I start putting next week's packet together. Right. I'll start looking Patriot stuff.
He is in the groove. Don't stop him. He's on a roll. Much like Animal House. And Matt, and with that, I want to go back to something that stuck out to me that you sent last night in your Seattle Seahawks edition of Matt's Stats. We've talked a lot about the Steelers in 12 and 13 personnel usage, multiple tight end sets, how difficult that could be for teams to defend this year when you have Pat Freiermuth and his skill set, Jonnu Smith and his skill set, Darnell Washington and his body type and his skill set.
Yeah.
Seattle defense only faced 12 personnel last season, 16.7% of the time, fourth lowest in the league.
Yeah, for the whole year.
The Steelers last week were in 12 personnel nearly 54% of the time.
First, right?
First in the league. Now, that number for Seattle is from last year, and this is a new season, new personnel, we talked about at the start of the show.
But still, there's a lot of overlap. I mean, we're only one game into 2025.
But how much is that something that could really be a wrinkle for the Steelers this year? A Seahawks defense.
And they saw very little of it last week because the Niners are a heavy 21 team.
21 team with Juszczyk.
And then Kittle got hurt. And they still allowed 2 touchdowns to tight ends last year. Kittle caught one, and then the dude no one ever heard of came in the game and caught one late, too. So tight ends gave them problems last week.
We saw Pat Freiermuth have a couple big catches on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Jonnu Smith with the pop pass touchdown on Sunday.
Yeah.
Does this feel like a week where, again, kind of building upon that, what we do from week to week in September, what we want to establish, what we want to be our identity?
Yeah.
Is a lot of 12 personnel and how the Steelers deploy that going to be part of a big part of the story of the offense on Sunday?
I think so. And maybe even more 13 than we saw. Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly a possibility as well. Again, Seattle has not seen a ton of it over this coaching staff's regime, which is now 18 games long, so and not to mention, I think one of the things that they went out of their way to do is, like all 4 teams the Steelers playing to start the season, their first-round pick was an O-lineman, which their O-line was horrendous. And then they got a toy for their head coach in Enuare in the second round, the safety out of South Carolina that has a lot of Kyle Hamilton overlay to him. And why I say that is someone like that, now he's missing this game, it sounds like, and I have not seen today's practice report.
I'm still looking for today's as we sit here, but yesterday's wasn't great for Seattle.
And I was chatting with Rob King earlier. He thinks Enuare is probably not going to play, but why I bring him up is he's a combine freak, early second round, 220-pound safety that can handle the Jonus. Well, is projected to. I mean, he's a rookie, so who knows what he can do. But I like his chances against Darnell, Jonnu, Freiermuth better than what Seattle had last year. I think Seattle recognized these teams are so smart. I mean, we saw very little 12 last year. Well, we're probably going to see a lot because we're not accomplished against it yet. You know what I mean? So get used to it,
That's a very good point. I mean, the NFL teams, they've got these numbers and analytics and breakdowns as well, too. And it's all about just finding that one little crease or one little wrinkle where you think you can have a leg up.
Big Godfather thing, and I'll bring this up all the time.
Godfather.
Learn to think as those around you think. So, it's golden rule of life. But anyway, there's so many things to learn from Godfather.
You sure that wasn't the Rolling Stones?
So I was sitting here thinking when you mentioned that with Seattle, I'm like, well, did they not see a lot of 12 because their division doesn't play a lot of 12? And the answer is yes on San Francisco because they play a lot of 21. But then I'm sitting here thinking the only team that played more 13 than the Steelers was Arizona. Arizona's a huge multiple tight end team too. And the Rams, they're a heavy 11 team, but their first draft pick was a tight end. Like, all this stuff adds up,
Yes.
Again, think as those around you think.
And as you and I know, the league is cyclical.
Yeah. How are they going to attack us?
Offenses spread it out. Defenses go more nickel and dime. Defenses go more nickel and dime. Offenses want to start pounding the football and playing with tight ends in middle of the field and closer to the line of scrimmage.
And you pay Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley.
Exactly right.
And then you go to Super Bowls and win a lot of games, right?
And, nobody wanted to pay running backs a few years ago, and now they're making the difference for a lot of these teams.
But no, I would expect heavier. I don't think the Steelers are going to do a lot of 11. I don't think they have a pretty deep secondary. Their corners aren't household names. I don't think that you're going to go deep into. You don't want these guys in dime a ton. I think you're going to see a lot of tight ends on the field. To your original question, and maybe more Washington than we saw. I think no one's told me this, but
his usage was a little lighter than I thought it would be on Sunday.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this till last night. I did a night show with Tom and Tim Benz, and I think it was Benz that mentioned that at one point Washington kind of limped off, and the announcers never mentioned it. So I wonder if there was something during the game bugging him, and I'd have to go back and find the spot, but there was something that he looked tight or whatever. But my point was, I bet if you gave the coaches truth serum on Monday, they would say probably should have used Washington to hide more snaps, especially on Broderick Jones' side in protection.
Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, right. I doubt they make that mistake twice.
Kind of sticking with that and some tendency stuff there. Week 1 week, one data point, but still, 84.2% of the Steelers' running play were zone runs.
I know.
Highest in the NFL.
Highest in the zone, yeah.
We know that that's the ultimate goal of the Arthur Smith offense is this zone run scheme, outside zone runs in particular. We talked a ton about that when they drafted Caleb Johnson.
Right. Much better fit than Najee for that scheme.
But do you think that maybe
in their preseason runs were like all zone, which they just want to practice it.
They just want to practice.
I mean, they don't care if they're not looking for the results. They're looking for practice.
Sure.
Right.
Now we're looking for results, though, obviously.
Results.
And the highest zone run percentage in the league, over 84% of the time in week 1. What's that look like in week 2? Is there some, okay, obviously this is what we're trying to build towards, but it's not working the way we need it to right now. Where do we go from here?
So I have really mixed feelings about this. And frankly, it's going to be my first question I ask Merrill Hodge when we do our night show tonight, because he's a running back. And he's smart. So this is a longer conversation. Well,
hey, we got nothing but time.
Hang with me, right?
We got nothing but time, Matthew.
I thought, say we want about Matt Canada. Wasn't good. We know the results. He got let go. That's uncharacteristic of an in-season move. Nobody was thrilled with that era, coordinating-wise. I think that's fair at this point.
Yes.
However, as that last season went on, their man-blocking stuff got better and better. And if you can remember, and that's a while back, they weaponized some of their athletic linemen, pulling them. Broderick Jones in particular, I thought, was really good at it. Designed movement from your linemen, as opposed to zone blocking where it's like synchronized swimming for hippos. It's like 5 of them all moving as one. You know what I mean? And frankly, that takes more time than man blocking.
It takes a long time.
Yeah. I mean, if Wolf was sitting here, it'd be like,
yeah, I was good.
He'd say it all the time.
He used to talk about this all the time.
Yeah, I need a lot of reps with the guy to my right and left to know it's not easy. Synchronized swimming is not easy, let alone if you're a 330-pound hippo, you know?
And Wolf used to have 6 preseason games where they would drill that stuff into those guys.
Right. That's why they did it so much in the preseason. They played 3
quarters in the preseason of zone run, zone run, zone run.
So I guess my point with the Canada stuff was, and the numbers bear it out, but I thought this running game was more effective with man than zone pre-Arthur Smith hire.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that's a bad hire. You knew he was going to implement zone stuff. You knew Najee's days here were numbered. There was only 1 year overlap, that they were going to get a zone runner, that all the linemen they draft are going to be really good athletes that can do this stuff on the move. But they were better at the man stuff to begin with. So I had mixed feelings of going so strong zone with the coordinator hire. You knew it was coming, and it has. Now, where I will be critical, and again, I can't wait to talk to Merrill about this, 84% is too much to me. You know, like when you talk about a man-heavy running game or a zone-heavy running game, it's usually like 2 to 1.
Yes.
You know, it's 60%. It's 65%. Maybe
70%, right. The teams that do it the most successful.
I think at this point, everyone's saying, I'm going to line up as if you're running outside zone. And a lot of that stuff's alignment. You know what I mean? Like, I think McVay is the best head coach in the league. There's a lot of great ones. But remember in the Super Bowl against Belichick, when that was an awesome offense, and I think the Patriots won like 6-3. I mean, it was insanely low.
Yeah.
And Belichick
10-7 or 13-10, whatever it was. It was a very low-scoring Super Bowl.
McVay in that game.
Yes.
The defense outcoached both offenses. It was 6-3. But they did a 6-man front and said, try to get wide on our 6-man front. And at that point, the Rams were like the heaviest zone team in the league. There's a defense for everything, I guess is my point.
Mm-hmm. They also had Jared Goff, too, who at that time wasn't, I think, even as highly regarded as Jared Goff is now.
No, right.
Belichick was like, make that guy beat us.
Right.
Beat me.
But I'm not going to allow Gurley getting to the outside on zone runs over and over and over and over and over.
13-3 was the final score.
Okay,
of that
I knew
one,
it was
by
like
the
that.
way. New England won.
In crazy low. But they let up 3 points in that game. It was great offense.
That game was 3-3 going into the fourth quarter.
Okay. That's how I remember
going
it.
into the fourth quarter.
Okay. But anyway, to McVay's credit, now they're one of the most diverse run games in the league. You know, like Kevin Dotson was not a zone guard, but he goes there as a big masher, and they mash.
And now has a massive contract to show for it.
Right. So he's adapted. And again, I think he's like the best offensive mind in the league. Now, I'm not saying Smith's incapable of adapting or I only know how to do one thing, but it's one game. 84% seems a lot, and I think defenses are going to key on that. and especially if you're not good at it yet into the season, back to the Wolf point, you know?
It is one thing, and, to use another one of our Steelers Audio Network offensive lineman colleagues as an example here.
Yeah, I'm sure Max would tell the same thing.
Max talks about that all the time, and it's one thing to know as an offense and an offensive line in a run game, they know what's coming and they can't stop us.
Oh, there's a lot of that too, right?
That's the greatest feeling in the world. That's what those guys live for.
Right.
Hey, the zone run's coming right here. Try and stop us. Good luck.
Oh yeah.
But it's another.
Here comes Jerome.
It's
right. Yeah, right.
That's great when you are elite at it and when you can excel at it and when you can demoralize a defense with it. But that's just not where they're at right now. No, and it's hard to get to that point. Very hard to get to that point.
I mean, the Shanahan, Terrell Davis led. Here comes outside zone again. And we're
a lot of offensive linemen and going to the Hall of Fame on those teams in the trenches.
So this is a side note, but it makes me smile. Denver plays in high altitude. It's hard to play there. So they don't want 350-pound fat guy linemen. They want dudes that can move, that don't get tired in the fourth quarter while the D lineman's huffing and puffing that only plays there once a year. We play 9+ playoff games here. I think that's why Shanahan not devised it. He's not the first one that came up with zone, but we're going to be a zone team in the altitude. We're going to have a lot of, in those days, 290-pound guys that aren't fat, that don't get tired, that can move all day long.
They're just going to out-leverage you and out-move you, and you're going to be gassed by the fourth quarter.
And it's different, but I use this example because it hits home. When we had Larry Fitzgerald, we could put on the scoreboard, here comes a fade to Larry in the red zone. Doesn't mean you're going to do anything about it. And that's when you're humming.
Hey, we're going to Antonio Brown on this red zone play here.
Right.
Try and stop him.
Right. Here's a fade to Larry. Good luck.
That's another one of those numbers that I'm excited to see what that looks like after Sunday's home opener against Seattle.
What's that?
What that zone, the zone run, the zone run percentage.
Yeah, right.
Even if it goes from being over 84% to 70%.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe it is 84%, but they're better at it. It doesn't mean you stop doing it.
That would be the ultimate
goal. That would be great.
That would be the ultimate goal, certainly.
Put it on the scoreboard. Run the zone right.
More to get to in this regard. We are going to get to your tweets here as we roll along as well, too. We've got a few of those. Continue to get those in before our last segment when we will do a little Twitter Thursday at Williamson NFL, at Wesley Uhler. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on The Drive here on a Thursday evening. Matt, we do want to talk a little bit about this big NFC game tonight at Lambeau Field between the Packers and the Commanders. We are still hoping that we're going to get today's injury report before we get up out of here at 6 o'clock. So can I call an audible? Can I do an Aaron Rodgers at the line of scrimmage thing here and check into something different?
I mean, I didn't know 80% of what we were going to talk about when it was Dale and I the last couple of years. So feel free to audible anytime you want.
I dig it. You are an expert in freeform jazz.
Yeah. Let's go.
We're in the key of B minor here.
As long as it's about football. If you ask me to talk about like baseball or something, I'm not going to have any clue what I'm talking about. Or like, who the vice president is.
It was a very good Wilt Chamberlain reference that you made yesterday, though, by the way. And Led Zeppelin. You can, of course, always talk Led Zeppelin as long as I don't mix them up with the Rolling Stones.
Couple things I know.
Like a jabroni. Annie tweets us and says, what is a reasonable time period for a developmental draft pick to develop? How big of a risk is it that a team will give up on somebody too soon and see them develop elsewhere? Seems like Fields is having much more success since he left the Bears, as an example. Thank you.
Yeah.
A good question. I think it varies, obviously, for everybody. But
first-round pick's different than a seventh-round pick. Quarterback's different than a running back. Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of variance to that question. But I do think this isn't what she asked.
Here comes the good stuff. Here comes the good stuff. This will be on the test. Write this down.
I think the league is showing us, though, that Darnold, Mayfield, maybe Fields, some of these highly picked dudes that go to bad situations, maybe we shouldn't flush them quite yet. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if Mariota, Wentz, Winston, all these highly picked dudes that kind of washed out. Trubisky, I have my doubts about, but what if they would have went to a better situation than where the first or second overall pick goes and like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bears situation, Fields went to was bad.
Terrible.
Baker's was bad.
Terrible.
Darnold's was bad. I mean,
Zach Wilson.
And it's really being obvious, take it to a new level. And this goes back to like Parcells. The quarterbacks that have more experience at the college level, Penix, Nix, Daniels, those are 6-year guys, have come in the league much more.
Played for multiple programs in college as well, too.
So, I mean, if Bill Parcells was saying, he'd probably be like, I've been telling you this for 30 years. These guys need all the experience they can get. Don't just expect them to be good in year one, So, quarterback, I think the league might be starting to be not more patient, but more open to the idea of Anthony Richardson as the next place could be really good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look it now. It's easy to say, he stinks,
Yeah.
I think Labs was saying that. Everyone just wants to fire everybody and move on and, move
Correct.
positions and,
Correct. So, yeah, it is obviously on a case-by-case basis, but I think you're right. I think teams are getting more willing to take second chances on guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a clear cut of you're patient with somebody and you give them the opportunity. Maybe a Najee Harris type example.
Yeah.
Or clearly this isn't working out. Let's move on. Maybe the Kenny Pickett type example.
That too.
As well too. So again, it's all case by case. But
the other thing too, and this isn't new, but now it's a lot different if I'm on a rookie contract than, okay, you're not a first-round pick. I didn't pick up your option. But anyone else doesn't have that fifth-year option even available. Okay, I like you as a safety for third-round money. Do I like you as a safety for $8 million a year? Not so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those 4 years go by pretty quick. I mean, the league moves fast. I mean, it's amazing that Broderick Jones' fifth-year option time is now already. Like,
you got 16
you don't really even know the answer.
16 more games to make a decision on his future.
And I think the league is flawed with that stuff. It's to have to pick up a fifth-year option before their fourth year, I think is so dumb.
I do too.
You know, right?
And a lot of times the kind of parameters around it are just like I know we've discussed the Tyler Linderbaum fifth-year option.
Right.
It's like
elite Pro Bowls.
It's like elite tackle money that you're gonna have to pay a center to pick. Why are you getting punished for drafting somebody successfully in the first round?
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot there that is
like, I know people
little non-copacetic.
People were shocked. I guess it's like May a year ago that the Steelers didn't pick up Najee. But if they would have, they're basically guaranteeing 2 years, his fourth year and his fifth year. The guy took more punishment than like any back in the league. What if he gets hurt in week 2 of 2024 and then you're on the hook and then you'd still have him around? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense,
It does. You'd be on the hook
even if you like him a lot.
Yeah, if he gets hurt in a couple games into the season, you're still on the hook for 30-some more games of him over the next 2 years.
And he's taking a pounding,
And that's an important thing to consider with the Broderick Jones decision as well, too.
Yeah,
you pick up that option, it guarantees their contract for 2 years.
Basically, right.
34 games.
Yeah, and that fourth year, you weren't going to cut him anyways.
Sure.
If you picked him up, it's not like I always found that funny. Like Lamar, but they gave him all this guaranteed money. I'm like, well, they're not going to cut him. He's the only way he's not going to get his money is if he gets cut. He's not going to get cut. He's Lamar Jackson.
Correct. He ain't going.
Right. I'm sick of that guy,
Steelers Nation 920 tweets us, how likely is a Tyreek Hill trade? What's your favorite stadium and field that you've ever visited?
I can't answer the field stuff. I've been to so few, it would shock you.
Yeah, because your background was
right.
I guess you probably did a decent amount of college stadiums when you were with Pitt and Akron, or were you still?
A fair amount, but even my Akron stint, I was never on. We never had a game. I set up the opening day travel to Penn State, but I was a Brown at that point, so I was only there 9 months, and I was never during the season. Maybe it was only 8 months. The Browns, I had no reason to travel with the team. I did when they came to Pittsburgh, but I drove myself.
If it's a close divisional
and stayed
game.
at home with my wife.
Yeah.
But I had no reason to travel the team. But I did go to like preseason games. Like I went to a Panther game as a Brown scout in the preseason. But otherwise, I didn't have much reason to go to other stadiums.
It's a good point.
Weird. You've been to way more than me.
Now
like Dale's been to like all of them. He's been to like 60.
I'm sure probably more than 32. Yeah.
Well, ones that don't exist anymore.
Absolutely.
He has a long list. It's crazy.
I'll give you both ends of the spectrum. SoFi is incredible out in L.A., and we'll be there in November again.
Yeah, okay.
It's like nothing else I've ever seen in my life. The whole stadium is open air. So
it looks incredible.
So the bowl is built, and then the overhang is detached. So the bowl of the stadium is
like
not connect. It looks like a stingray hovering over a massive stadium bowl.
Okay,
it's so cool, and obviously the Southern California weather lets them get away with that. But
sure, you don't want that in Buffalo.
The jumbotron in there is like the whole 100-yard length of the field. It feels like it's impressive. Mm-hmm. It's very cool. And then the opposite end of the spectrum, there's a part of me, the sports dork in me, and growing up as a 90s kid, I still love the old stadiums, the old barns, the old arenas that are dumps, and people just go there for the sport and the atmosphere. It's not a fancy night out. It's not I'm taking a bunch of Instagram pictures with my friends.
Okay.
Buffalo.
I mean, yeah.
Their stadium
They're getting a new stadium because it is a dump.
It's bleacher seats. There's barely any suites in there. It's 70,000 people right on top of the stadium, and they don't care about the Wi-Fi. They don't care about the amenities. They don't care about the concession stand. They're there for the Buffalo Bills. Those old dumpy stadiums and arenas still have a soft spot in my heart. So those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum that I love.
The one thing I'll throw in, and I have so many great memories at Three Rivers Stadium. I mean, tailgating with my buds,
concerts,
terrible towel,
football games, baseball games.
I went to a million Steeler games and Pirate games and whatever. And I don't even know if any of them even exist. But like Riverfront, the ones that were baseball and football stadiums made sense at the time. You'd move the seats and blah, blah, blah. That's
tough.
That ship has sailed.
That's a tough way to live. It certainly is. Certainly is. In terms of how likely Tyreek, I don't know if he means here in Pittsburgh specifically or just in general.
So. I guess I've been asked about Tyreek a ton lately, and I guess Vegas odds his next team, the Steelers, are second in terms of bet. You can bet on everything.
Yeah,
I just believe people that told me that. Because they're going to be a link to every wide receiver.
And he's now got some investigation stuff going on from the league.
Domestic abuse stuff that just came up with a wife that he was married to for like 17 months.
I think it's a non-starter until you get some kind of, because you don't. Right. The worst thing in the world would be to trade for a guy and then a week or two later he gets suspended for 4 games, 6 games, the rest of the year, whatever it may be.
I looked at it a little too. He's making $30 million next. He's got one more year on the deal. He's making $30 million. I think he could get traded. I mean, their season's a disaster, but you got to get the off-the-field stuff at least cleaned up. And even if that gets cleaned up, he has an off-the-field reputation. I mean, say we want about the Chiefs, they have taken character risks on people more than most teams.
Yeah.
He was not on most guys' draft boards. I know it was 100 years ago. They took him in the 5th round, and because you could. Everyone knew he was a really talented player, but he was not. I probably was not on the Steelers draft board at the time.
Last tweet to get to here. Me tweets us and says, Dr. Westman and football laureate Matt, are our inside linebackers missing assignments?
I don't know about that. I've given them too much of a pass this week because I've blamed the people in front of them for getting pushed into their laps more than maybe I should. But I really think that's the number one problem is it's hard to operate when someone's rolling up on your feet that's your teammate.
Even if you're Patrick Willis dipped in Luke Kuechly.
Right. I mean, you're getting a lot of friendly fire with Benton and Loudermilk going backwards and even Cam to some degree in that game. I'm not going to quite go there.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But I'm open to the fact that it was an underwhelming performance by the second level.
I think it was an underwhelming performance by most on that defense, but particularly at the defensive front near the line of scrimmage.
We were talking about last night. I mean, I would say Watt, Ramsey, Eccles, maybe Highsmith can hold their head up high for how they played in that game.
That's
and
fair.
Then it's a pretty short list. And none of those guys were perfect either, but they all had high-quality individual performances where I'm not sure anyone else could be like, wow, I was great in that game.
Me also asks, grande nachos or 7-layer burrito?
Whoa.
7-layer burrito.
Think about all the layers.
That seems a little intimidating. I'd try it, though. Both?
The beauty of Mexican is it's just different shapes. They're all the same stuff, and I like all the stuff. But I'm not huge. I like dipping a chip in guac. I don't love guac on my taco or burrito. I don't love it. My daughter gives me a hard time with that. She loves Mexican, and we get Mexican a bunch. And she's like, why don't you get guac on? I'm like, takes away from what I'm after. And sour cream, I could take or leave on nachos or a burrito.
Ooh.
I wouldn't choose to put it on there.
On burritos, I'm with you. On nachos, I want it fully loaded. Give me the guac, give me the salsa, give me the sour cream. Heck, put some queso on there, too.
Yeah, because you have more freedom to... I got my chip. I'm going to go with a little bit of a black olive, a little salsa.
Some jalapenos in there.
Where the burrito is just one bite.
Yeah.
How about this move? We don't cook much at home anymore, but on taco night, my whole family gets their tacos, and then when they're like, I've had my fill, not that they eat without me, but they all get more than they need or whatever, and then I get the big thing of refried beans that only my daughter and I eat, and I take all the leftovers, dump them in there.
I love this.
And I just go, brah, and that's Matt's Meximush. And it goes right in the taco so we don't have layers.
Matt's Meximush. That's phenomenal. You need to trademark that.
Right. I mean, they gave it a name, and it's all evenly spaced. Every bite's the same. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done.
Like a rice bowl that's loaded with beans and protein.
See, there's another thing.
You're not a rice guy?
It's filler. I mean, that's less beef or
but
cheese.
Aren't beans a filler too? But no.
They're not the star of the show, but they're a quality player for you.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Good questions by everybody.
But like burrito, Chipotle, no rice. Just eating up space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now all that this has done is I need Chipotle or Moe's
starving, by the way.
Taco Bell or my goodness.
Yeah, I'm hoping
Condado.
a text from my daughter comes by. Hey, I'm stopping at Chipotle. What do you want?
Tell her I'll do barbacoa burrito bowl. She's not listening. It would be funny if this was the one time she was, though, wouldn't it?
Maybe her boyfriend is or someone she's with.
We got to get to our last break of the day. Some thoughts on Thursday Night Football when we return. Maybe we'll get to one or two more tweets as well, too. You know where to get at us if you want to get involved. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Wrapping things up here on a Thursday, and Matt, I love it when a plan comes together.
Perfect timing, right?
Right as we went to break there, the injury report dropped for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Glad we got those tweets in the previous segment. Here is what we know. Not great news on Joey Porter Jr. Did not practice on Wednesday, did not practice again today.
It's not great, but it doesn't break my heart for this matchup. I mean, I really think there's one above average receiver, and they don't want to use a third guy much. Cooper Kupp is a shell of what he used to be. So you're so deep. Like if this was last year, you'd be like, oh, no.
You would be like,
right.
Oh, this is not good.
If Eccles is your 3 for this game, I'm cool with it. Yeah, when in doubt, keep Porter out for another day, another week.
Of course, Deshaun Elliott, Derek Hardman did not practice yesterday or today. They've already been ruled out.
That's
Malik Harrison as well, too, but he's moved to IR, so he will not be showing up on these practice reports. Good news on the Nick Herbig front.
Good.
Full participant today after being limited on Wednesday. That's a good sign for his availability on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's not a huge deal, but with Harrison out of the mix, Harrison did some outside linebacker stuff. He did some of that at Ohio State, did a little bit of it at Baltimore. Now, he's not 1/10 the edge bender pass rusher Herbig is, but you don't have that fourth guy unless you wanted to call up Leal. It's a lot to ask of Sawyer. And plus, the offensive line for Seattle's not great. I like Cross, the left tackle, and I'm excited about Zabel, the left guard. But I think Herbig could really pressure Darnold. And we'll talk more about this kind of stuff tomorrow. But even as good as Darnold was last year, his numbers when pressured, everyone's worse when they're pressured than in a clean pocket.
Sure.
But his gap is wider than most. He doesn't handle pressure great.
If I'm remembering correctly, 2 years ago at that game out in Seattle, must win for the Steelers, the start of that 3-game Mason Rudolph win streak that got them into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Nick Herbig who had the big strip sack on Geno Smith to turn the tide of that game?
I don't know off the top of my head. I believe you.
I believe it was Herbig.
Yeah, I wouldn't shock me. He is a game changer.
I believe it was because there was that big strip sack on Geno that turned the tide of that game, and I do believe that it was Nick Herbig 2 years ago, his rookie season.
Like as phenomenal as TJ is at causing forced fumbles and strip sacks, Herbig might be better because he gets so much fewer opportunities, and his numbers are a little less, but he also gets like a quarter of the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he learned from Big
him.
Brother. You know, I mean, he learned from TJ, obviously.
Certainly takes advantage of him. TJ was back in practice at full today after getting a rest day yesterday.
Okay.
Cam Hayward got a rest day today, but clearly he was part of practice on Wednesday.
Good.
Last one here, Calvin Anderson didn't practice yesterday with an illness. Full participant today. So hopefully that was cold, bug, something like that. You know, just wasn't feeling the best.
Yeah.
Just a 24-hour thing, get some rest, stay hydrated, and he was back to it today as well.
Backup anyway. I mean, ideally he doesn't play a snap.
In a perfect world.
Maybe this is optimistic, but it sounds like Porter's the only one really of note. You know, and maybe
Other
that
than,
even
again, the three that Mike Tomlin already ruled out earlier in the week.
It's not great that they're all on defense, but, you know.
I would agree with you on that. But, yeah, looks like good news and trending in the right direction for Nick Herbig and, you know, maybe going to be another week and a little bit longer for Joey Porter Jr.
And we didn't mention any safeties, but now you have Jabril Peppers, too. You've added something to the defense from a week ago.
Absolutely. He spoke for the first time yesterday.
Did he?
Talked about how excited he is to, you know, he said he had a goal when he came into the league that he wanted to play for Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin at some point in his career, and that he got to play for Bill Belichick and now gets to play for Mike Tomlin. And so,
cool.
I have a feeling we'll see him get some spin. He'll be wearing number 40 for those of you that are going to be looking for Peppers on Sunday afternoon. Before we get out of here, Matt, couple minutes left. Tonight at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. Second massive game here at Lambeau in the span of 5 days. Of course, Packers with a division win comfortably over Detroit in their opener. Commanders with a division win over the Giants in their opener. Matt, and I think you and I both agree the Packers are a step ahead. But two of the contenders in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, there's high expectations for both.
Yes.
Rightfully so. I think Green Bay might be right there with the Eagles as the best team in the NFC. Probably had the most impressive win of week one, considering who they played. I mean, they kind of embarrassed the Lions, and I still think the Lions are pretty darn good. I like Green Bay. Yeah, I think they're like 3.5-point favorites. I would lay the 3.5. It sounds like Green Bay might have a few O-line injuries. I don't think Parsons will be a full-time player yet, but he's still super impactful, and I can't wait to see him on prime time. I'm sure he's going to be phenomenal tonight. And the Giants couldn't really take advantage of it, but I still have a lot of questions about Washington's defense.
They're old.
Yeah, they're old. They're old, and I don't see a lot of difference makers.
They certainly have them on offense, but I do think that's a fair assessment of their defense. It is Green Bay favored by 3.5.
Okay.
So you like
I would
the
take
Packers
the Packers
to win, but the Commanders to cover?
No, I like Packers both.
Straight up?
Yep.
Okay.
Packers
win not straight up, but laying the points.
Yep.
So to win by 4 or more, Green Bay tonight.
I also think short week at home goes a long way too.
It definitely does.
Not making the trip. Yeah.
Washington had to get on a plane yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers got some extra time at home there. A lot to I think be excited about for both of these offenses to watch too.
Yeah, both quarterbacks are going to be fun to watch too. I'm a big Jordan Love guy.
Both quarterbacks, absolutely. I know you're a big Jordan Love guy. I think everybody thinks that Jaden Daniels,
I do too. Yeah.
If he takes a step forward this year, we could be talking about him potentially as one of those unicorn type, truly elite quarterbacks.
Yep, very impressive.
You've got two really intriguing running backs for different reasons too, and Jacobs and Krosky Merritt kind of at different points in their career. And Deebo Samuel, who had
Debo was really
good debut for Washington.
Yep.
As well. So a lot of storylines to sink your teeth into in this one.
No, everyone should get your popcorn ready for this. This should be a good matchup.
It is, and I do like how they've started to do that now. Like we all know, sometimes the Thursday night football slot can be treated as like the throwaway game.
Used to be like Titans-Jags when they both stunk all the time. Or
and
Derrick Henry would run for 200 yards against the Jags,
You'll like this story. Arthur Moats, my former co-host on the Blitz.
Sure.
We'll have to get him as a guest a couple times throughout the season. That'd be
no
fun.
Question. Welcome anytime.
His first 4 years in the league, he played for the Bills before he played 4 years for the Steelers, and then his last year with the Cardinals. And that was pre-Josh Allen, pre-McDermott.
Oh, yeah.
It was in the middle of Buffalo's 30-year streak of not going to the playoffs, whatever that was.
Times were tough.
And I told you the joke before about how he said, we won 7 games one year and they wanted to throw us a parade. That's how.
Then he comes to Pittsburgh and they want to.
If you don't go to the Super Bowl, it's a failed season.
Right.
He would always laugh and tell me, my 4 years in Buffalo, every team in the league is guaranteed at least one primetime game.
Yeah.
And he's like, that was the biggest adjustment for me when I got to Pittsburgh, is we're having 5 or 6 a year.
Yeah.
He's like, in Buffalo, we had 1, and it was always a Thursday night. We'd be playing Cleveland or Tennessee or somebody. That was our only primetime game we had the whole year. It was that kind of Thursday night throwaway. I think Jeff Bezos and Amazon, put a word in, put a call in.
Let's make these a little bit more attractive.
And at least at the beginning, it always seems like the first handful or it's like
what
what
teams people want to hear.
They want to hook you in
There's
on
not
those.
A quarterback injury or whatever. You kind
of
know what you're getting.
Absolutely, absolutely. But these good slate of Thursday games to kind of get us started.
All the primetime games have been pretty awesome so far.
Absolutely, and I think tonight 8:15 at Lambeau Field is certainly going to be another one of those. Matt, enjoyed today's show.
Good stuff, dude.
Tomorrow will be a lot of fun. We will completely deep dive into the Seattle Seahawks, more of Matt's stats, some scouting, some looking ahead. We will have Missy Matthews join us on the show tomorrow as we get ready for that Steelers home opener Sunday, 1 o'clock against Seattle at Acrisure Stadium. Big thanks to Bob Labriola for joining us today, and of course our video producer, if you want to see our beautiful faces on YouTube, Mr. TV. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You know where to find us as always. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.